Hey guys, there's no easy way to say this, so I'll just say it. I got laid off from my job, found out yesterday. I've never really talked about it on my channel before, so most of you probably don't know that I work for Google, or at least I did. I've worked at I worked at Google for the last 13 years, almost 14 if you count my original internship in college. Google's been my entire professional career. And, it's been a big part of my life. And actually, early on in my 20s, it really defined a big part of who I was. And since I've gotten older and things have changed both at the company and for myself, my identity has evolved over time. And so it made up less and less of my identity, but still, it's just been a big part of my life. We spend so much time working. And I, for a long time, truly loved what I did and believed in the company and our products and the people who worked on them. And I still very much believe in the people that work on these products, that Google has some of the smartest, most thoughtful people around. So, yeah, I found out last night around 6 p.m. that my role had been eliminated due to changing business needs. So I'd like to tell you a little bit about that from my perspective. When I started at Google in 2012, I think there was something like 40,000 employees. Now there's almost 250,000 employees. And a ton of that hiring happened during COVID. Everyone remembers the Zoom calls. Everything was going online. And so the tech companies, it became a bit of an arms race in terms of acquiring talent. They just started hiring like crazy. And Google was no exception. They just hired and hired and hired. But as we all know, eventually COVID subsided and moved into the background, and people wanted to do things in person. Not everything became online. Thank goodness the metaverse hasn't taken over yet, right? And so after COVID, these tech companies especially knew they needed to pull back a little bit. So in 2023, Google actually laid off 12,000 employees, about 6% of the entire workforce. And I was fortunate enough to survive that set of layoffs, the biggest layoffs by far in the company's history. And there's been rolling layoffs for the last 2 years. It's been really tough on everyone, right? I mean, but it's been tough internally with the culture and just feeling like you never know if your job is going to be taken from you. For most of my career when I worked at Google, I lived in San Francisco and I commuted to Mountain View. But in 2021, I was given the opportunity to become a remote employee. And so I signed a new contract. I even took a pay cut to move out of the Bay Area. But I knew that leaving San Francisco at the time was right for me. My wife is from San Diego. We met in the Bay Area, but she was ready to come home. And so she took me with her and we bought a house here and we now have a baby and we've really been building our lives here. But it became very clear that Google was no longer putting remote work as the future. They once called it the future of work, but it was quickly fading into the background and becoming a relic of the past. And so while I didn't get a specific reason for my layoff, I know I'm not the only person. There's a lot of people who got laid off yesterday. I do believe that being remote is one of the main reasons why I was let go. Google has stopped hiring for remote roles. If you change a role, if you get promoted, you may be asked to come back into the office. And even some people who are remote that live within a few miles of the office were required to come back or actually lose their jobs. I actually thought something like that could happen to me very soon. But instead I just got laid off. So here we are. This was definitely unnerving and I'm still feeling a bit shell-shocked, to be honest. But, when I first read that email from Google saying my role had been terminated, my heart sank. So many emotions. and just anxiety kind of creeping up. But pretty quickly, within a couple of hours, I really started to feel a peace about it, that things were going to be okay, that this is happening for a reason. For me, the number one reason I can believe that is because of my faith in God and Jesus Christ. And that's because I truly believe that God can even take bad circumstances, even the worst of circumstances, and he can work them for our benefit. He can use it to grow us and to shape us and to make us more like him. And so for me, that gives me great hope. And it just feels so clear to me that this is happening for a reason and that better things are ahead, and that this is an opportunity for me to bet on myself on whatever it is that I decide to do next. I definitely don't have it all figured out, but I do have confidence and belief in myself that I can create something that is valuable to the world. And that's ultimately what I want to do, whether that's entertaining people, educating them. I'm not exactly sure yet, but I think there's room in this world for me to create and for me to be an entrepreneur and to find success. And so that is my goal. And so I've only found out about this maybe less than 24 hours ago. So I'm going to do some reflecting. I'm going to do some praying. My wife, Sarah, and I are definitely going to be talking about what's next. But yes, I'm fortunate enough to have received a pretty generous severance package. And so I will have income coming in. My wife is still working, but my income will continue to come in, at least in part, for the rest of the year. And so that's a unique opportunity that a lot of people don't get. And so I'm going to take that opportunity to really find out what it is I want to do next. So this definitely isn't going to be the last you've seen of me. With any luck, I'm going to be able to post a whole lot more and do some different things. And I'm excited for the future. And maybe most importantly, I'm at peace with my present and the circumstances of now, and just the belief that I'm going to be okay and our family's going to be okay. And so, if you've been in a similar circumstance, if you've been laid off if you've been laid off by Google this week, know that you're not alone. And I know that people across tech, across the US are dealing with the same sort of things. And so I have it better than most. I have it better than I deserve. And so I'm so grateful for that. Well, I think that's it for me on this one. Thanks for listening. And this will not be the last you see of me. Peace.